I got my box of BMSes. It's smaller than I thought. So, yeah, let's open it up and see what's inside. It's interesting. They have the lithium warning sticker on it, but the BMS should only have capacitors in it. Given that this is small, given that it's got that sticker, I really hope I actually got what I ordered. Not that I'm too worried. The contact I have at QSO, she's been really wonderful. So even if there was a problem, I wouldn't be too worried. But just opening it the little bit that I have, I already see 8 boxes. One of the things I need to figure out is when I placed the order, I was still thinking of having 24 volt and 48 volt in the boat. After I did the order, I decided I was going to go 12 volt and 48 volt. I think these are the 4S8S, in which case I'm good. If they're not, I'll be ordering yet more stuff. The other thing is that I did order the front LCDs, but they were not in stock. And they didn't know that when I placed the order. So QSO was really kind about saying, look, we'll ship you the BMSs so you can get them, and we'll send you the LCDs later. And the LCDs are apparently in now. Yeah, it's a little crunched, but let's see. If it's just the box, I don't care. That's a little squished. Well, we'll crack them open and make sure there's no damage. Let's see. This is the JK B2A8S20P. Oh yeah, and they all came with the RS-45 adapters. That's interesting. The BMS was outside of the bubble wrap. Well, anyways, 2 temperature sensors. Of course, there's no manual. Will this do 4S? That's odd. The temperature sensor is a little bit skewed. I can bend it back and it seems to be lined up properly. All right, and this one didn't come with bolts. It's got big nuts. It has big threaded holes. I'm gonna have to find the right bolts for that. All right, I need to look up and see if this will do 4S. If it doesn't, crap! All right, let's see what we have here. JK B2A8S20P. Ah, and one of the first videos is Mr. Andy.
Let's have a look at the ports. What do we have?
Okay, but without watching his entire video, he calls it a 4S8S. So I'm thinking I'm okay. Alibaba, JK B2A8S20P. Come on, can it do 4S? That's what I'm wondering. Specs, please. I'll have to check to see. Maybe it can run at 4 volt because Andy's video says 4S8S. Maybe I'll message Andy. Hi, Andy from the past. Anyways, let's set this aside. All right. Oh, that one's ripped. Here are the BMSs I care about for this project. This is the 2 amp. The previous one I got was the 1 amp balance current. These are 2 amp balance current. I'm playing with the idea about, I was originally going to top balance by building a 16S battery, plugging it into the Victron charger, charging it all the way up, and then pulling it apart and using the old X8 iCharger to top balance each individual cells. I'm actually now thinking it would be a really fun experiment to not do that. Build all 6 batteries, plug them into the Quattro, and see if these things can balance the cells out in a reasonable amount of time. Right. So, GPS, something in Chinese, and something else in Chinese. I'm assuming the power button. Ooh! I still have my power button from before. I think I might actually now be able to plug this in. No, that's definitely not the right one. CAN RS40. Okay, so that's the CAN plug. Oh, such a wee little connector. Are these going to go in? These don't look compatible. No, I didn't think that was going to plug in. These have a weird type of connector, and these... Okay, camera, I want you to focus right there. See how there's like a divider bar compared to focus? Can I plug it into the GPS plug? Yeah, it plugs into the GPS plug, but the one that says CAN RS-485, the connector is different, and I can't plug it in. JK keeps changing shit. I'm still miffed when they sold me this, like, a couple weeks after I bought my first BMS, and then told me it was my fault that I didn't check to see if the port existed because my brand new BMS was too old. It bothers me that JK is the best option on the available right now because, good Lord, I want to use anything else. I mean, this isn't going to stop me from building. Making my stack of BMSes, except they're not centered, so they all want to flop. I want to stack them in a nice, even pile to aesthetically be pleasing, and I can't do it. Okay, this is the most crunched box. Let's see if there's any issues. No, everything looks fine. All right, I spent a good bit of time trying to figure out whether these BMSes will work with 4S. I confirmed that the model number is exactly what Andy has, and his works in 4S. When I spoke to QSO, they were told by JK, the version I have, I don't see a particular version number here, it apparently doesn't support 4S. The version I can buy right now, and I should like to remind you, I just received these yesterday. The model you can order now, apparently, again, supports 4S. I have no idea what's going on. At this point, I'm just going to try it. I also got confirmation that the RS-485 port doesn't plug in to the RS-485 port. It plugs in to the GPS port. I don't know if that was washed out by the light. There's no English documentation that I can find for these manuals yet. I can forgive the not having English documentation because, you know, it's a Chinese company. They don't have any obligation to make it in English, though fair warning, there's no English documentation for this yet, if that matters to you. What I can't abide so well is the fact that JK seems to constantly change their BMSs without changing the model number, without communicating to buyers something has changed. I ran into this when I got my first BMS and I bought the Switch, found out that the Switch was for a model newer than the one I got, and I had got mine like 2 weeks before. And when I tried to speak to them, I was basically told, well, it's your fault. You should have checked to see that this port existed on the BMS you had before you ordered the Switch. I should hope by now, with how long I've had the YouTube channel, it comes across that I don't get frustrated or annoyed very often, at least not with a hint of anger. JK has done that. I'm going to try running this in 4S. What's the worst that's going to happen? It blows up. Well, if it blows up, it's no good to me anyways. Also, Andy mentioned that he was told that these can't be run in parallel. I asked to confirm that, and JK, through QSO, confirmed that it should work in parallel, but it's not recommended. I asked for clarification on why, because as Andy mentioned, series makes sense. The voltage going through the MOSFETs has an upper limit, and the series, when you put them in series, the voltage climbs and it could easily go above it. I absolutely understand why some BMSs can't be run in series. But in parallel, it shouldn't matter, because the draw will be divided by the batteries that are available, plus resistances of wires and whatnot, but let's not get that pedantic. So I don't see any reason why these can't run in parallel. And the reason I got 2 of them is because I'm hoping to have the 2 of them in parallel to get enough cold crank amps to turn over the boat's diesel engine until I can get it replaced. I want to get rid of all of my lead acids. So at this point in time, I'm just experimenting. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's find out. Now, if you remember from the last battery I built, I went through and labeled everything. Because I don't even know if this is going to work, I'm not going to do that yet. If this works, I'll come back and start labeling everything properly. I need to find out right away, because if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to buy more BMSs. And as much as JK has pissed me off, and I really don't like giving them more money, they are currently the best BMS option available for cells this large because of the active balancing. So I can be angry all I want. I've got to use them. At least for now. All right, so main pack negative, battery 1 positive, 2 positive, 3 positive, 4 positive, and then pack positive. Hey Kepler, you're being real friendly. I know I can't pick you up to show the camera though, because you'll just run away. I'm gonna be right back. I need a quick bite to eat. And then I'm gonna try assembling this battery and see if I can get it to turn on. Oh, no, I can't assemble it yet. I still have to make the lugs. I got these from QSO, and they didn't come with the bolts or the cables, which is fine. I can make all of that myself. I would probably not have used what came with it. So I've already run out and got some bolts that will fit into this. So I've got to make up some cables. I'm probably going to do just one bolt for now because I'm not going to do any high loads. I'm just trying to see if it boots. So I will be back in a second. So while I was having dinner, I watched Andy's video. I'll link it below. He had the first one of these. And that was a very good manual. Certainly better than I could get from JK. It's been a while since I've actually assembled a battery. Oh, and I'm going to need some cables. Here we go. That should work. When I was rewatching Andy's video, he had a really good point about how close the MOSFET legs are to these terminals. So when putting them in, make sure the end here doesn't come close to touching any of the legs. The ones I'm using seem to be well enough away that it's not going to be a concern. Actually, I don't even need to connect the P- at this point. I'm only interested in seeing if this is going to power on. There, that's a better height. I normally never like to work when I'm frustrated because that's when I'm most likely to make mistakes, and I'm really quite frustrated at the moment. I have to be sure to keep that in check. You know, I don't think there's any power going out onto these pins, but to be safe, I'm going to cut the soldered bit off just so there's less chance of them touching each other. All right. Main pack negative. You know, I would be wise to put a fuse on this right away. I learned from last time. I am going to do that. I should probably fuse the positive, but for now I don't plan to have a positive, so I'll fuse the negative. It doesn't really matter whether you fuse the negative or the positive. If there's a fuse in the circuit, it's gonna pop. I mean, maybe there's an industry standard to normally put it on the positive or the negative. I don't know. There we go. That actually makes it easier now to bring this back down on lower on the desk. How do I want to do this? I hate when I'm filled with self-doubt. Okay. I'm not killing it, but I am getting it a bit strong. Come on, how am I going to... I think when I make the cable from here to here, this BMS or the next BMS, I'm going to use the 10 gauge again. I just like the much better flexibility of it. Yeah, it's going to want to push that out of the way, but that's all right, that will work. And as always, leave this disconnected. Leave this disconnected while you wire this up so that you can use your voltmeter to verify the pin goes in the right order before you plug it into the BMS and risk damaging it. Wow, this is a sloppy build by my standards, but it's very temporary. Again, not killing it, not putting this under load. It's all good. Oh, I really hope this works. I want to take a 12-volt battery with me when I go to the boat next time. This is getting very close to the main pack positive. That makes me nervous. I think I should have, whatever. To minimize the main pack positive surface area, I am not putting a bus bar or a cable or anything on it. So, negative to B1 is 3 volt, B2 is 6 volt, 9 volt, 12 volt, 13 volt. And the last one, 13 volt, which is the power supply wire. The balance leads seem to be wired up properly. So that's plugged in now. I'll plug this in, and I should be able to boot the BMS. Okay, no sparks. All right, let's try. Nope, it's not powering on. Where's my battery bank, in case the switch isn't compatible? 4.8 volts. Nope, it doesn't work. Exact same part number. Wow. Well, I mean, that's that. It doesn't work. These are 24 volt BMSs only now. Yeah, I don't know what more to say. The exact same part number as Andy got, that used to go 4 to 8S, is now 8S only, apparently. Well, except for the fact that JK is telling QSO that the exact same model number now works with 4S again. Just trying to think, am I doing something wrong? I checked the voltages across here. Main pack negative goes to battery minus, battery positive. We checked that it was 13 volts. Unless I'm completely doing something wrong. Doesn't work with, say, with 12 volt anymore. So I guess that's that. Nice short video. Just to make sure that the BMS is good, I'm going to try to build it up as a 24 volt, because it's possible this is just dead. I doubt it, but if I'm going to call a company out, I should do my due diligence. So duly, I will now diligent. Hey, Kepler. Can you tell that I'm annoyed? Is that why you kiddies are coming to check on me? As usual, check the pinout before we get started. 3.2, 6.5, 9.8, 13.1, 16.3, 19.7, 23, 26, 26. Okay. If the BMS is not bad, it should now turn on. Let's see. And it turns on. That confirms it. Without changing the model number, it no longer supports 4S. Hey, Tatters. You always know when I'm upset, don't you? I'm the Digital Mermaid. I have to go buy some more BMSes. I don't like you, JK. So I thought I was going to end the video a few moments ago, but I tried to do some more figuring, and with the wonderful help of Mr. Andy at Off Grid Garage, I think I have a much better understanding of two concerns I wasn't sure about. The first is, why won't these work in 4S where the previous version did, the one he had, and the new version, which I ordered yesterday. Any JK BMS 8S made after August apparently supports 4S. So I couldn't figure out why this one didn't. What's the difference? And Andy pointed me to one of his old videos where he talked about using the 20S in lower configurations. And it comes down to the battery positive balance lead needs to see a certain voltage in order for the BMS to turn on. So, assuming he's right, and I very much suspect he is, I should actually be able to set up this BMS in a 4S configuration, but instead of running the battery positive to the top cell, I'm breaking out the old iCharger. I'm going to see if I can set this to put out 24, 25 volts, and if so, I'm going to run the positive directly to the iCharger, the positive and the negative. As I understand it, these two wires, the one that goes in battery negative and battery positive, are the power supply. So I should be able to take these two wires, run them to the iCharger, set it to put out 24 volts, wire this up in a 4S configuration, and make this work. Now, clearly, this isn't how you want to do it long term. If you really, really wanted to, as Andy mentioned in his video, you can use a boost converter. So in my particular case, one that would take 12 volts in and put out 24 volts, and wire this up permanently. But I don't really like that idea, not in any kind of a long-term solution, because it's more complexity and more things that can fail. But particularly on a boat where the batteries, especially the 12-volt system, which is running my bilge and lights and all my emergency stuff, I don't want it to be hacky. So I'm doing this purely out of curiosity. Now, before I do this, the other thing I wasn't sure about, and Andy mentioned this when he was reviewing this BMS, was that JK said that they don't support running these in parallel. And I was trying to figure out why. And I asked JK via QSO what the reason was. The reason I got back was very difficult to understand. I think it was a translation issue. So I had an idea of what it was. I ran it by Andy and another friend of mine, and it seems to be the concern is that if you have your two batteries, and take an extreme example, one battery is at 0% state of charge and the other one is at 100% state of charge, and you connect them in parallel, the current would flow out of the fully charged battery into the discharged battery, and it would flow at basically an uncontrolled amperage, which could, in theory, damage the BMSes. Now, the BMSes have settings for how quickly they turn off in an overcurrent situation, so even then it shouldn't be a problem, but that seems to be what JK is saying is why they're saying don't run the batteries in parallel. I don't know if that's really such a real-world concern, because we'll get both of these batteries up to 100%, then connect them together, and then charge them up and discharge them. And so long as they're in parallel, they should charge and discharge in equal amounts. And if there is a difference, say one of the wires is longer so it doesn't discharge as much current as the other, well, they should just dump a little bit of amperage from one battery to another and keep themselves equalized. I'll link a third video that Andy did very recently where he had his battery 2.0 where he's got the three 16S packs, and he had disconnected one of them and forgot to reconnect it. So it ended up at a higher state of charge than the other two. When he reconnected it, it did in fact dump a fair bit of amperage. I think it was 100 and change amps initially, 150, but then very quickly tapered down. Nothing got damaged, nothing broke. But it is good to know when you're paralleling these packs, and I'll talk about this more when I'm building my big pack, when you're paralleling the packs, don't bring them into parallel unless their state of charge is similar, so that you don't have this massive dump in current. That said, let's do a little bit more science, and then I'm going to tie this video up. So, first things first, let's wire up this battery. I just realized if I put the negative and positive onto the iCharger, the ground reference is going to be totally different from the battery ground. My one thought is, do I keep the grounds totally separate, or would I want to tie this ground onto the battery ground? Oh, that's the positive. The battery ground and the charger ground and the BMS ground all together, and then have just the charger positive going to the battery positive? Or do I keep the grounds totally separate? Or will this idea not work at all and I'm supposed to be running a boost converter directly off the battery? It should work. The only thing I'm worried about is that the grounds, this is a floating ground, or a floating negative, and this is a grounded negative because it's going through the power supply. Okay, well, I'm going to continue with assembly on the assumption that I can make this work. Actually, in theory, I could connect just these to the charger and boot the BMS with no batteries connected at all. Then I don't have to worry about the grounds at all. And that would confirm that that's all this is that it just needs 24 volts on the B+. Oh, so much to figure out. So much to figure out. You might be asking, what's the point of putting heat shrink tubing on this? And the answer is nothing but cosmetics. I think things look better with a little heat shrink on the end. I should be able to take this negative to this negative, and I should be able to take this positive and the last wire, which is main pack positive usually. This cavalcade of wires, holy shit. Make sure that when I turn this on, nothing's going to short out. Okay. How did that turn on? The breaker. Oh, the breaker's for the output. Right. Confused for a second because I had that breaker off. Oh, there's an option down here for just power. Will this even do 24 volts? Oh, it's looking like it. 3.2 times 8 is 25.6. Should be the nominal out of these. Okay. I'm going to set the current to just 1 amp. I don't want much. So between here and here, I should get 12 volts. Are you sure you want to run? Yes? No. Okay. There's the voltage ramping up on the iCharger. 25.6. This is off, so right now I should read 0 volts. Correct. Turn the breaker on. Now I should read 25 volts. I do. I don't want all of these balance leads touching anything. So first I'm going to measure these two to make sure that I'm getting 24 volts across these. And then I will turn that off, plug that in, move all of the balance leads apart from each other, then reapply power and see if that boots up. Science. This is how we do science. So I should see nothing here. So I'm checking the ground and the last pin only. Sure enough, I've got nothing. Putting wires in your mouth, what could possibly go wrong? 25. Okay, and I should have no voltage on any of the other pins. No voltage. Okay. So I'm going to turn this off, plug this in. I might let the smoke out. That's in. Make sure all of these balance leads are separated from one another. All of those are apart. Let's turn this on and see what happens. Okay, no smoke yet. And the BMS is not turning on. Okay, so I guess it needs to be able to read the cells. This iCharger is really cool. It's a bench charger. Okay, I'm gonna pull this out, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set this up. Okay, now, let's see what I've got here. I should have, when I turn this on, oh, okay, so this is where my ground issue is gonna come in, because normally when I'm testing the voltages, I would go from ground to battery 1, battery 2, battery 3, but I can't do that because this ground isn't connected unless I run a lead from here to here. Should I do that? That'd be like a grounding bus. That shouldn't be a problem, I'm thinking. This is not janky at all. Nope, no sirree. Totally fine and safe. Now, if I'm about to make a mistake, at least it'll be on camera. So now I have the main pack ground tied to the ground of the charger and the ground of the BMS. To confirm that, I should be able to now go from here to here and see 13 volts, which means now I should be able to check my pinout and I should be able to see 3, 6, 9, 13. Okay, so that's good. Now, if I turn this on, okay, no sparks, I should also see 24 on the last pin, 25, and I do. So now the BMS should come on. Okay, let's plug in the battery. That is on, everything is on. Okay, no smoke. The BMS is still not coming on. Oh, does the B minus have to be connected? I bet you that's it, Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Of course, it's entirely possible I've just destroyed everything as well. It's always a possibility when you're fucking around with circuits. I should probably be wearing my safety glasses. Hopefully that's not a famous last word. Now, all the grounds are connected. That's on. This is live. Okay, let's try this again. No, it's still not coming on. It's getting 24 volts, or 25 volts. Why is this not coming on? I don't know. That was my idea. Didn't work. I wonder if I damaged this. I should put this back into a 24 and make sure the battery still or the BMS still turns on at all. As always, validate our voltage. 3, 6, 9, 13, 16, 19, 22, 23, 26, 26. Okay. Now in theory, if I didn't blow it up already, this should power on now. Did I blow it up? No, I didn't. So it doesn't work with an external power supply. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Well, unless I'm doing something fundamentally wrong, trying to apply 24 volts from an external power supply won't boot this thing with less than 8 cells. The more you know. Which means I have to now wait for the new BMSes to arrive. Balls. That's going to take a while. We're really curious to see if JK has changed the model number when the new BMSes come in. I'm going to bet they didn't. If you are buying one of these BMSes and you want to use it for 4S, make sure that it's a model that actually supports 4S, and I don't know how you're going to tell the difference. I'll look for some differences when my new ones come in, but that'll be a few weeks because they're shipping from QSO in China. Oh well, that doesn't affect the channel because next is building the 6 cells. This was a personal priority because I wanted to have these batteries ready for the next time I went to the boat. Sucks to be me. Now I'm out. I'm the JK Mermaid. See you very shortly.